Okay, Monday, 26th of February 2024, daily cap trade review for the ES and the NQ. After a 1 week hiatus, here we are starting again. As usual, let's go through with the plans first, what I had planned for the day, and then how I did against my plans. As an overview, took 2 trades today, lost on both of them, but regardless of the losses, I am rather happy with how I was able to follow my process today. Just stick to it, keep following the plan, and whatever the outcome may be, I am happy with my performance today. Definitely still room and scope for improvement, but performance wise, it's much better than where I was last week, regardless of red trades. Anyway, starting with the plan for the ES. So basically, on Friday we went out and made new highs, new all-time highs, and then pulled back. Pretty much kept within the upper distribution of previous Thursday's double distribution day, and never even tested the singles that were left behind on this day. Also, we had Friday's low very close to the singles area, never got tested on Friday, but the low was very close to the singles area, and then this was really structurally a good area inflection together, like whether we fail into the lower distribution and accept Honda, or we keep holding these singles, maybe fill them, maybe not, and keep pressing to the upside. That was one of the most immediate and important levels coming into play probably early in the session. It is also kind of a ledge, but not quite with all of this. The ledge would have been maybe this PDL and slightly higher, but in general, this area, important area, and then the top part of the ledge. Although I wasn't looking for shorts from here, my first idea is if we keep on holding it longs, if we break it shorts and target this area underneath. This area is prior all-time high, point of breakout for last Thursday's double distribution trend day higher, and important area inflection. In that way, although in the cumulative volume profile, this really is not the best area. There is some drop off in volume. This is the breakout point, of course, and then especially if we are coming up from top 40 points down, this at least at a point of the day is an important area to try to find bias, at least on the first try. And then the main region will be around this 50-50. If we ever end up coming, I'm only really looking for longs, and even if we were to come here, test this, break it, I was not looking to short within this section. So the plan was simple: long if we hold it, short if we break and hold underneath, and longs from here, only longs from here. We only really interacted with this, so we'll go through it later. And then on the NQ, similar sort of story where we trended higher on Thursday, new all-time highs on Friday, pulled back slightly, and then similar sort of situation where Friday's low and then the overnight low and then this little volume ledge, they kind of come together. This is the area I'm looking for longs on the first try, and then if we were to break it, go. I did not have any plan for a shot, so basically I only had one thing planned for the NQ today: longs from here. The reason I did not want to go short from here is because there's this gap test level right here, and that would have created some sort of dissonance within this expectation of it traversing the entire distribution, but also having a gap level in between. So the basic plan was longs from here. If we fail, do not worry, no need to take a trade. and I had no, although I had this level marked, I had no plans for short because couldn't really come up with a proper level that I would have liked to take a shot from, or I would have defined as a very good inflection point because we are really at all-time highs, and yeah, just couldn't grasp any particular level to go short at. So very simple plan, basically longs from here, and if we happen to sell off for some reason, longs from here, and that was that. Now going over NQ first because nothing really came into play. NQ turned out to be an inside day, completely rotational, never even came close to the level, and there we are, pretty much rejected Friday's value area high sort of area in this afternoon rally high sort of area, even though there are no singles and it didn't really trend down, but rejected that, hold at the bottom. There wasn't really anything going on. Didn't take any trade on the NQ because obviously nothing set up, and that's that. Obviously the plan level for taking a long here, that is pretty much happening at this point of time when I'm recording this recap after hours, but that is okay. Now that we get it, obviously I'm not in it, but it is what it is. Now going over, so yes, took 2 trades in the yesterday, both of them ended up being a loss, but regardless, ES opened so ES pretty much opened right in the center of last Friday's value, pretty much in the middle of the range. So early indication for chop, and obviously nowhere near close to my plan levels, so all I had to do was wait. So nothing really happened for the first hour and a half. It was a really slow, ranging, excruciating, without pace movement to the downside. The volume was really quite light, and it didn't really feel anything was happening at the day as such. NQ wasn't moving, ES wasn't moving, Wix was at the lowest lows. These are brand new all-time lows, at least in the VIX futures contracts. And really slow, no range, atrocious kind of day up until that point, where it did come and tag the level change, and I took an entry right here. Although I understood while I was taking the position that given the day's range and the chop, stop loss tonight ideal, I had a 5-point stop loss here with this low, with a 1-point cushion or so. And then really to get 2 to 1, to get another 10 points up from here, I'm looking for basically new highs. And there was something that I realized. So for me to actually get anything decent out of this position, this really just needs to be the low, and buyers need to step in, and we just need to rip and roll higher. That's the only way that something good will come out of it. And I sat in this position for 2 hours and got stopped out here. During this entire time, there were enough opportunities to get a break even, get out with a small profit, 1-to-1 sort of profit. I just stuck with the system and I did not take it. Not really upset or angry on anything, I just followed the system. Everything I did with this position was exactly how my system says I should do it, and I am happy that I followed it to the T, despite the fact that it was a losing trade. Doesn't matter. Really, there was nothing as such order flow wise at any point of time during the initial part of the trade. If so, maybe there was some sort of sellers very like nothing to read home about, but there was some sellers getting absorbed, which got pushed up to the VWAP from where we pushed down again, and it was just this slowdowns throughout the day, and I get stopped out here. But something, one of the most important things that I think I got out of today was that no real aggressive buyers came in at any point of time during the day. If you look at even the cumulative delta build, it's just a slow grind lower, slow grind lower. There's not a single point of time where buyers even remotely showed up, and I think that should have been my cue to maybe cut the position short, but that's for another time. I'm not really deviating from the process as such. So, but there's something to take note of, that even though that there was so much selling and it wasn't really going a lot further down, there were no real buyers to actually trap anybody and push the prices higher. And we had one bounce, we rejected VWAP, and then on the second bounce we were actually offering rather strongly. So right after this initial VWAP rejection, when we were going back up, strong offers started to come in. There was an 800 offer somewhere here, which got bought, got 600 bid, and then we moved higher. But then again, 500, 700 offers came in. They eventually took and put us back down. So maybe that was a situation where I see the offers coming and actually holding that, okay. And since I already realized that this really needs to be the low and something like really strong buyers need to push up for me to actually get out 2 to 1 out of this position, maybe it's time to reduce the stop loss, get out break even, or whatever. Even though this wasn't a place for me to go short, there was decent enough MGI to kind of rethink the position that I'm in, because I'm already long here for an hour and a half or probably longer, and just sitting there waiting. But VWAP was slightly declining at that point of time. Buyers were not coming in, sellers were trying to keep on pushing lower, lower, lower. Although we are only really down 5-6 handles from the open, in with a negative delta of almost 7k, 8k. Regardless, buyers never showed up, never really came in. Because if buyers were to show up, my usual understanding of the auction would be, okay, there was some sellers trapped here, few, but at least some. And then we push up, then this decent bit of selling tries to come in, we push back up again. And that would be my general thought process, that okay, maybe the position is decent, and if buyers show up, we can press higher. Obviously, in this case, buyers don't show up, rather offers start coming up, and we reject that VWAP again, and from there we push down, and I got stopped out here, and at the same point of time, my laptop crashed at 101 exactly at 5 bond auction time, and I did not have anything for the next 10 minutes. Fortunately, I got stopped out even when the laptop was crashed. The position was there, I got stopped out at my stop, which is good. And then from there, once I opened the laptop back up, we were pushing back up again. And by this point of time, I kind of have forgotten about these offers, which is my fault. So I was still thinking maybe take a long if this, because I missed my original entry, take a long if this pulls back. But while it was pulling back, I hesitated slightly and it felt like something has changed because we really were not going up. At that point of time, I wasn't really thinking that there are no buyers coming or whatever, but something felt different. I don't know what or how, but regardless, if the laptop was not to crash, most likely I would have been in this trade, which again I would not have minded. I rather mind not being in this trade because I hesitated, but can't really go back and change that, especially with the laptop crashing. It just creates that little bit of instant barrier with the laptop crash that you need a little bit of time to readjust. And from there, we just sold off again. Probably, I think the most important context clue today was for me to remember that there were offers up here that strongly rejected and pushed us back down rather aggressively. Probably the first and the only aggressive move that we got today. And we broke the level, and obviously there's enough time spent, there's enough range extension for me to change my plans to look for shots rather than look for longs. That's what I did. I did not take a shot here because this is just too extended beyond at negative second standard deviation, so there's no really entry there. Kept on waiting, took this optimal entry point. At this point of time, I had some trap sellers against me, so there were sellers trapped at the bottom, and I was shorting here. So this is a tricky situation where I need sellers to come in quick and really press back down. Otherwise, if buyers show up, this really is a perfect place to squeeze. And I ended up taking the shot here. It worked for a little bit. Same as the first position, I was up 4 or 5 points at a point of time, a little bit over 1-1, but I decided to not take it off, which is fine. I had no issues with being in this position and how I managed it. And then we come here, we push, and then we keep on holding the overnight low. And then at this point of time, goes in my head because we have negative 3k, another negative 3k somewhere here, negative 1000, negative 900. There's a lot of selling delta here at the lows, and we pushed up, push down, but we keep on holding the overnight low. So this is a point where we are kind of rejecting the level but holding the overnight low. So we are creating a failed overnight low sort of situation, but also rejecting the level after extending beyond it. And there's a little bit of dissonance here within my thought process and my position. So I am short, but I recognize that the wicks is at its lowest lows. It's just so weak, and yes, it's kind of down for the day, so there's some sort of divergence, and then we have this divergence. We are holding the overnight low, and then I got stopped out, and I decided to not take this shot back up again. We had two real closes above the level, and this is that little tricky sort of situation where obviously in hindsight it worked, and that would have been the best trade of the day, but because I wasn't able to objectively identify what was going on in the auction, especially because it was so slow, there was no pace, there was no real, obviously we're selling down, so there's some sort of direction, but there's not that much conviction that we are pushing down and then maybe taking a breather and pushing down and taking a breather sort of situation. But I think obviously putting the stop with the prior swings, but more importantly, I should have remembered how we offered up here something important intraday context skill, which slipped my mind at that point of time. And then since I have this dissonance with a failed overnight low sort of situation, wicks at the lows, and trap sellers here at the lows, I am personally favoring longs, even though I am in short. And then when the opportunity arises, I just sit cash because I do not understand what's going on. And I think that was a good decision, even though the short would have been a good trade, but I did not actually know what to do. So sit cash, let things become more clear. Obviously, hindsight is a bitch. You can see it working, but we do not trade in hindsight. So I'm rather happy with what I did today with both of the positions. This was a little bit iffy here and there whether I should have taken this pullback or not. I do not know because again with the laptop crashing, it takes a little bit of time to readjust. And this is a long time. Even though I reckoned that this would have been another hour and a half before this trade even remotely started to work. But something to try to remember for the next time into the context when you see like offers holding and offering strong and extending range. That's something to keep in mind throughout the rest of the day until something significantly changes. And another very important lesson, as I said today, even at this point of time, when we have trap sellers here at the lows, there are no buyers coming in to push prices higher. So trap participants are one thing, but we still need the opposite side to be aggressive enough to actually run those buy stops and take us higher, or sell stops and take us lower. So that is the most important thing. Like at no point of time during this 1.5 hour section, while we are holding the overnight low so well, did at any point of time the buyers really come in. Even if they came in a little bit, they were immediately pushed down. This was just a wick which I did not take, which is fine. But that's the most important thing, that even though they were trying to take some offers in, like if you were to look at all this negative delta that accumulated at the overnight low, I was still leaning bullish against the overnight low. That was just my read of the auction at that point of time. I would not necessarily say that my read was wrong. I'll probably read it the next time in a similar fashion, but next time most likely I'll try to keep in mind if the opposite side is also trying to come in aggressively, or they're just passively sitting there and not trying to really move the prices in the required or one direction. So there's nothing wrong with the auction read, at least I would say so at this point of time. With these trap sellers holding low, buyers never showed up. That was I think the most important thing today to realize if reading order flow, that what is not happening and what was not happening was buyers being aggressive. So even though they held, there was heaps and heaps of negative delta building here. That's my thoughts on the hard right edge, failed overnight low with the low wicks, trap sellers, all that. Looks like a good area to go long at 248. So while we are holding this, I think it's a good area to go long, but obviously I don't take long because it's against my level and that is not my plan. So I just sit cash. And the other thing that I was thinking for not going long also was I just could not understand what the scope is, either higher or lower, which is why I did not take this short also. So at this point of time, with this excess up here, this selling that apparently looked like liquidation because we sold off and we are just holding higher. I just do not know if I go short, where is my exit, and similarly, if I go long, where is my exit, because I just cannot see the option going at this point of time at any one direction with real conviction and strength. And eventually, sellers showed up, buyers never came in. We had all this negative build up, but at the close, sellers showed up. Again, I wouldn't say the strongest, but they were able to close at the low with a 2 point worth of spike. Nothing to read home about, but there we are. We extended range at the end of the session as well. So definitely, even closing beyond this upper distribution into Friday, into Thursday's lower distribution, and pretty much I think this will become the playground for tomorrow. Whether we keep on rejecting this or we reclaim this and go back into Thursday's distribution. Given the today's close, most likely I would be favoring shorts first from here, longs first from here, and longs from here. But that we will see in the plan tomorrow. That's that for today. Important lessons. Good day overall. I lost, but I do not care about that. It's about how I followed the system, how I made my mistakes, and how I plan on improving upon them. And that's that. Awesome.